Okay guys, so in this one we want to actually clean up our profile here. When we click that, we want that to work and actually go to your profile, and then we actually want to clean this up just a little bit more too. All right, so go into your base.html and we're going to see this right here. We actually want to change that to being, something like that using a URL. And we have right here under members profile. So let's just say name equals to profile, and we're going to use that in our base. So we'll go URL profile, and then we're going to pass through request.user.username. That will allow us to use that as a link. So let's go back in here, and if we click this, it's going to take us now to our user profile. Works out pretty well. All right, so now we want to just clean this stuff up a little bit, and we will go down to our user profile to the single user.html. Now we want to get rid of this match percentage if the logged in user is the one looking at it. So that goes away, and it's pretty easy. So if we do if not request.user equals to single underscore user, then it's going to show it. So if the request user, as in the logged in user, is not equal to the current user that you're looking at, show the match percentage. So if we do a refresh, it will delete that, and then if we go into other users, it will still keep it there. All right, so that's what we also want to do on our main dashboard there. We don't want to show all the users, so if not request.user equaling to user, and if do a refresh, now you as a user are no longer being are shown up here in the user column. And we actually should clean this up to where it's maybe just a list of pictures of people with their name underneath, as opposed to just a list of users like that. Our jobs we might want to keep those just as a list, so then I can view them and all that, which we'll work on later. And then we want to actually make the messages. But for now, we'll do these pictures. We'll have either their profile picture, if there is one, or it will go to like a default picture. So first we need to change this from an li element into a row, like into its own div. So for each one, we want to do div class column large 12. So this is putting a div within that one. And then in here, we want to do a div class column large, and let's do 4 across for now. And I'm going to just separate these things a little bit so we can see them a little bit better. And change that to a div. All right. So now it's going to show the username and where they're located. And it shows it into a nice little list here. One of the problems with it is that we have the issue that we had before with pictures and the e-commerce project, if you did that. So we need to actually close out and make a new row each time we do this. So what we need to do is, in the for loop, we need to cycle through and make sure that we're creating a new, basically a new row each time. So we'll do cycle, and then we'll do 1, 2, 3, and then on the 4th one, we'll close out the div and open up a new div class. Do double quotes on this, otherwise Python will get confused. And notice that we use the same exact thing that we did up here. Oops, there's a typo. So we did the same exact twice. So basically every time it goes through, it's going to create a new row of that. So that's on the 4th one because we used column of 4, and that means that there's going to be 3 versions of this, and then we want the row, so it would be on the 4th one. So 1, 2, 3, make a new row. If you did 6, it would be on the third one, because then it's only 2. So it'd be 1, 2, and then 3. But we're doing 3, so it will be, or excuse me, we're doing 4, so it'd be on the 4th instance. So save that and go back into Chrome, do a refresh, and you will see that. But what I notice is it's not actually a new row, which we want it to be. So let's actually just change this to row and to row. And now do a refresh. And that's a little bit better because then it's actually providing us with a full row in there, as opposed to having just, you know, that extra padding that we didn't want. We want it to be nice and lined up. So now we would want to get the user's picture and put that in there. So as a refresher, we'll go in back and look. It's under user picture itself, because they might have multiple pictures, which is perfectly okay, but we're going to just grab one of them. So going back into all, we will now grab the user picture. So for pick in user.user picture set.all, if for loop first, so if it's the first picture that we have, this is just the designation we'll use for now. Let's just grab that picture and for. And let's just get the link first. Okay, so we do a refresh, and I have a picture coming in for Bond and nobody else. Of course, you need to make sure that you actually have a picture in there, otherwise it's not going to work. So image source equals, don't forget media URL, and then class equals to image responsive. Okay, do a refresh, and there we go. Now we have a picture right in there, and then it has the username and then their location. I noticed this little gap after the username, so I want to change that, and that is coming from this extra space here. And let's add a break so it can separate the lines a little bit. Cool, that looks good. Let's do a couple after that even, just because we have some spacing that we want. There we go. Cool, so now we have a picture, but we need a default picture if they don't have one. Otherwise, we're going to run into this issue a lot and it'll look really empty. So let's go ahead and download a default profile picture. Actually, it doesn't really matter what you want. You can just grab one. So I am going to emulate one of the most popular ones for now. And let's see. So I just put it on my desktop, and we'll just call it default. So rename it to default. All right. Grab it and put it into your matchmaker. You want to put it into your static files, static, and then we will make a new folder in here called image img. Throw that in there. All right. Now, if user picture set.all, if not user picture set.all, then we'll grab this, copy it, and we'll go to static URL, and then it'll be image and default.jpg, I believe. Let's see if that extension is correct. Yep, it's JPEG. And there, that should do it. So we go back in here, do a quick refresh. Oh, it's not coming through, so let's go back. Let's check a few things. Check your spelling of everything. And also notice that we have it in this in for loop. So we don't actually want it in that for loop, because if there is no picture there, it's not actually going to show up because it's within that for loop. Okay, so let's save that, do a refresh, and there we go. Now we have default pictures for these people. So it looks a little bit nicer than it did before. Now it looks a little bit more like a social network too. So within that single user, let's just grab this exact same thing. We're going to copy that for now, and then within single user, we already have something in there, but we called it single user instead of user. So let's copy that. All right, so let's get rid of this other for loop here. Do a refresh, and there we go. Now we have this like default user picture and our profile, and also all of the user information kind of set up working okay. Granted, we might want to clean up some of this stuff a little bit more as far as their info, but we can do that in a later video. Now we want to actually move back into the suggested jobs and make sure that that's all working too.